Welcome to the Near Memo, a weekly conversation about search, social, and commerce. What happened, why it matters, and the implications for local. Welcome back, everybody, to the Near Memo. As Mike said just a few moments ago before we began, this is Season 2, Episode 2, or Episode 47 of our now venerable podcast, where we talk about search, social, and commerce and the interaction and intersection of those. And I'm here with Mike and David, as always. And we're going to start today with a significant deal in the local space. Vendasta acquired very long-lived PPC platform, advertising platform, MatchCraft. And so, David, what were your thoughts on that?
Yeah, interesting announcement. Matt, so for those of you who aren't familiar, Vendasta is essentially, I would describe them as an app store for agency tools, where agencies.
That's a good description. That's not how they started out, but that's a good description.
So they essentially operate a marketplace where agencies can kind of roll their own bundles of services, and they work with a lot of not just agencies, but traditional media companies. I think make up a decent chunk of their customer base. So those companies who are trying to sort of transition from like a legacy of print or other advertising types into digital marketing, and so they've got everything from website builders to email marketing, social ads, and now and they've sort of made their bones in the local listing space way back when in sort of the late aughts, and so now they've added MatchCraft, which is as we were talking before in the green room, as it were, before the show. MatchCraft has been around forever, paid search platform that, Greg, you said was founded in 1998, same year as Google. Yep. So they essentially are one of the, I wouldn't say there's a ton of vendors left, actually, that enable agencies and media companies to push geo-targeted ad campaigns at scale. And so I think it's a pretty natural fit for Vendasta in terms of a product that their agency customers need and will use quite a bit. I do wonder, I haven't been in the Vendasta marketplace in I don't know, a couple of years at this point, probably. I do wonder if there's going to be any sort of competition issues in terms of, do they already have tools in their marketplace that provide a similar offering to MatchCraft? So that's the one sort of outstanding question that I would have. But I think from Vendasta's standpoint, even just access to the existing MatchCraft customer base and the opportunity to upsell them beyond just this paid search platform, I think is pretty interesting. I'm not particularly bullish on the future of non-Google Smart campaigns or non-LSAs as an ad product, but I think that the customer base alone is an interesting play for Vendasta to make, and I think all of us have relatively, I don't know if they're industry friends, but certainly longtime acquaintances who we admire and respect on both sides of the deal, and I'm really happy for both companies in that regard.
How do you think that Vendasta will handle the enterprise client base that MatchCraft brings to the mix? I mean, as opposed, it's a very different client base than what Vendasta has historically dealt with.
Well, I don't know if that's true.
I agree. I don't think that's necessarily true. I think I think that it's a very compatible acquisition, because what MatchCraft has done for the last many years has been to sell to media companies that are trying to sell small business customers advertising products, digital advertising products. And Vendasta is doing a very similar thing with its partners, as David described. So I think that there's a it's not Reese's peanut butter cup exactly, but some compatible mix of services there. And what Brendan King said, and I did a short Q&A interview with him that's up on the site in our analysis section. What Brendan King said is that they're trying to be the end-to-end solution for small businesses, for their customers, to enable small businesses to do kind of a complete version of digital marketing. And they were really only offering organic. I mean, they did have some paid products, I guess, but not natively. And so they were really only offering an organic suite. And so this gives them a very complementary set of tools which extend beyond Google into, social channels and others. And so I think it's execution is always the key, but I think it's just, in theory, it's a really good and compatible, pairing Yeah, and I'll say one thing, in my experience, talking to some of these traditional media companies, I mean, their entire existence has been selling advertising to small businesses,
Yes.
not marketing. And I think that
Right.
there's there is that hurdle to get over of, hey, there's a set of deliverables that you can do over here that are equity building and not a one-time transaction that actually have considerable value and a lot of appeal to small businesses based on some of the surveys we've seen, like the Call Rail survey and others. And so I think that this as a Vendasta sort of getting in with these customers on a product that they already know how to sell, I think is a really smart move. I think it's like an easier entree when you have a good solution around advertising, which these companies know how to sell, versus the other way around, starting them out with a listings product and a website product and then trying to layer on ads is actually, I think, a harder sell for some of these media companies. So,
All right.
Thanks for joining David, Mike, and Greg. To stay on top of the latest developments in local, subscribe to our newsletter at nearmedia.co. We'll see you next week.